Moving on to ear training. This is obviously not important at all, so it's going to the meh tier. In this video, we'll be ranking various musical skills in order of importance from must-know to the least important, so hopefully you'll get a better sense of what you should be focusing on in your musical journey, whether you're a beginner or a more advanced player. By the way, feel free to disagree with me and write down in the comments what you think I got wrong and why. So right off the bat, we have scales here. Major, minor, I'm thinking modal harmony later, so very basic, very essential, yet can be very advanced. So is it a must-know tier? I'm actually gonna put it in high priority because I think there are a couple of things that are even higher on the scale on this tier list, and I'll explain exactly why. Let's say you're playing a song and you're about to improvise a solo. Would you think in terms of scales or in terms of chords? Let's make it more clear actually. Imagine you're in a jam session with a band, and one of the other musicians, you're playing the keyboard, he asks you, hey, what key are we on? And you say we're in C major, and let's say these are the chords that you're playing. As you could tell, some of those chords were not in the C major scale, because C major only has white keys, while some of the chords I played had a black key in them, and so did the melody that I improvised. So when I think of making up a melody, of writing a song, I think vertically in terms of chords, not horizontally in terms of keys. So with that being said, I'm just gonna put chords here. Up next is playing with a band, so I would put it in useful. My reasoning is that not every musician wants to play with a band. There are a lot of solo musicians, whether classical musicians or just singer-songwriters, that are very successful without playing with other people. That being said, playing with other people, that is listening, right, and knowing how to adapt and work with a band is highly useful skill for any working musician, as well as it develops your musicality, your ability to just gel with other rhythms and other melodies, other instrumentations. So again, it adds a lot of depth to what it means to be a musician. Next, we have counterpoint. So if you think of modern pop music, you have a rhythm, a harmony, chords, right? And a melody above it, that is singing or any other instrument. So counterpoint refers to just having, instead of a harmonic bass and a melody that's in the center, you basically have two or more melodies that are going on in the same time and have, most often than not, just the same amount of importance to them. So think about Bach, think about Palestrina, really sort of Renaissance and Baroque era compositions. And I did learn this in university when I studied music, and I would say this is definitely here. Aww. Unless you want to delve into this kind of music, you know, learn how to compose like Bach with the same rule set of Bach, or even counterpoint exists in jazz and progressive rock and other styles of music. Unless you really want to delve into that, I would say this is very low priority, although useful, but still I would not get to it if I were to focus on other skills instead first. Moving on to ear training. This is obviously not important at all, so it's going to the meh tier. I'm just kidding, obviously it's here. So about ear training, this is basically recognizing what type of chord, what type of scale, what type of tonality. Even if you're not recognizing the actual name of the chord, the actual name of the note, having good ear is extremely important in both learning, in playing on the fly, jamming, improvising. You know, like having perfect pitch is essentially a cheat code, it's a good one. But having, even working on towards getting relative pitch, intervals. So this is very interesting actually. So we're talking about octaves, fourths, fifths, etc. And while intervals are more basic than both chords and scales because you only have two notes, I would still put them in the useful category. And the reason is that intervals, while it's a very useful concept to communicate your musical ideas or to understand how music works in a better way, I'd still say that they don't make you a better musician, a better technical player. So I know several self-taught musicians who are amazing very, very talented, yet when they had to learn music theory in retrospect, chords and scales were so much more useful than intervals. Rhythm. Ladies and gentlemen, rhythm is king, because even if you know just a couple of chords and you have a good ear for it, together with rhythm, this trifecta right here, I think this is the winning formula, because you can already sound and even appear to sound way better than you actually are in terms of your musical experience and your technique. Music history is a very, very interesting subject, and I'm a music history nerd. I like to research music from all sorts of countries, places and time periods. But just in terms of being a good musician, I would put it right here. Right? So when you're more advanced, definitely listen to all sorts of music to get ideas, to learn maybe new rhythms like those that come from Africa, from Asia, from places that you're not very familiar. Just get inspiration. And that could be a good motivator even at the start, but I would not focus as much attention on this as opposed to the other subjects. Reading sheet music. So I think personally that reading sheet music is important, and most of my students learn how to read sheet music, but I would still put it here. Because you have to remember, sheet music is the graphics. Music is what you hear, not what you see. So I wouldn't again put too much emphasis in, oh, I have to learn to read sheet music unless you'd like to learn a specific piece or you're into classical music. Sound design. This refers to synthesis, to messing with your effect pedals to create a perfect sound or various other cool sounds. And while for other instruments, such as the violin, it's important to work on your intonation and just the quality of your sound, for us pianists, it's not as important because obviously you just press an acoustic piano or a keyboard and you get the perfect sound. Now, with that being said, for me personally, I'm a synthesizer nerd. I've owned various vintage analog and workstation and all sorts of synthesizers as well as virtual instrument. And I'd say that definitely it has been a great motivator in spicing up my piano journey, my musical education, and it helped me explore new horizons in music. So very inspirational, very motivating. I would not dismiss it, but just in terms of, basic of the basic, it's definitely not what's gonna make you a better player in general. Now, having good technique is being able to play fast and consistently, so with as few mistakes as possible. Just pure good old-fashioned execution of playing. And I would put it here. So in my opinion, being able to play chords and scales in the right rhythm, even not as fast or as virtuoso, is by far more important. I have this rule where in music you should always strive towards perfection, while realizing that perfection is impossible. But that doesn't mean that you lower the standard. The standard is high and you try to reach it, but it's almost impossible to reach it. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Versatility is being able to play multiple musical genres, many songs, just having a lot of stuff in your arsenal. And I would say that versatility is just a counterweight to technique, to the execution. So if technique is the quality, versatility is the quantity. That being said, I would still say that technique is more important. So that's why this is here and the versatility is number 3 in the high priority category, which is again still a very, very useful skill to just know how to play many, many genres. But if you excel at one genre and you do it well, then it is more important than playing many genres but not so well. Lastly, it's composition, writing music. And writing music, in my opinion, I would put it here. I would actually put composition here, because I think it's more important than being able to read sheet music or knowing your intervals, and certainly more important than anything that's in here. Composing is the ultimate ability to express yourself, right? This is the ultimate self-expression. I would argue that it's more important to first know your theory and your basic stuff, to realize what has worked in the past and then work on how you can expand those borders and create something of yourself. And by the way, as a last point, I just wanted to say that learning music and getting into music, it's not just doing one of those things and then the other and then the other. It's not a chain. So you might as well start working on rhythm at the same time you're working on your chords and you're Sometimes you're playing a music from this genre or that genre, etc., etc. Well, that was the list. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe, and watch my 2 previous videos over here.